So now we're going to move away from volume and we're going to focus on surface area. We're still going to start with our prisms. Now we talk about surface area, that would be, for example, the amount of cardboard we need to make a cereal box. It would be the distance on the outside, or the area of all the faces on the outside. And we'll talk more about that in a second. But a couple things I want to look at is reminder, how do we find the area of a rectangle? So if we're going to find the area of a rectangle, reminder that is going to be my base times my height. Or length times width if you want to think of it that way. If we talk about a triangle, that's going to be 1/2 base times height. And we're also going to talk about perimeter. And reminder, when we talk about perimeter, all you're basically going to do is add up all the sides. So if it's a rectangle, a triangle, we're going to use it specifically in the triangle when we talk about how to find the surface area of a triangular prism. So the key is when we want to find the perimeter, you add up all the sides. So now let's move on to our examples. Well, looking at our first one, we're talking about rectangular prism. A rectangular prism, so think about a die, think about a dice. It has 6 sides to it. Well, the one thing we know is that the top and the bottom are both congruent rectangles. So if we focus on the top of this thing, the rectangle at the top is going to be a 6x2 rectangle. So if I multiply that, the area of the rectangle on the top is going to be 12. The area of the rectangle on the bottom also has to be 12. So we take into account 2 of the 4 sides. If we focus on this side over here, this side has to be the exact same, opposite sides, congruent sides, parallel sides. This is a 2x6 rectangle again. By coincidence, the tops and the sides are congruent. That won't always be the case. So I have the left and the right side. And now the front right here and the back, they're both 6x6 rectangles. So we're going to be talking about a front and a back. So for me to find the surface area of this, all I have to do is add up all those numbers. When you add them all up, you end up with 120 because it's area, and these are all centimeters squared. So going to our second example. Well, now we have the top rectangle, which is a 6x6 rectangle. So the area of the top is 36. We also know the bottom has to match it. The left-hand side and the right-hand side are both 6x4 rectangles. So we know we have the left and the right. The front is a 6x4 rectangle, which means the back must be the same. So you're going to end up with a series of parallel sides, congruent sides to each other. So then when I go through and I put all these together and find my surface area, we get 168 meters to the second power. Okay, so now let's focus on our... Okay, so now let's turn our focus to the triangular prisms. Well, triangular prisms are going to be a little bit different. We're going to look at one right now. Well, first of all, we want to find the area of all the faces of this. Now keep in mind, for a triangular prism, there's only going to be 5 faces. We have a triangle, which is my base. Keep in mind, there's going to be 2 congruent parallel triangles. So let's look at that first. So the first thing I'm going to look at is my triangle, which has the 3 and the 4 right here. It has this 5, but that's going to be my hypotenuse. We don't need that for area of a triangle. So I'm going to find the area of my base, so it's going to be 1/2 times base times height. Remember, the base and the height are where the right angle comes together. So the triangle is going to have a base of 6. Now mind you, there's two of them. There's the one in the back and there's the one in the front. The triangles will always be two triangles, congruent parallel to each other in a triangular prism. We also have 3 rectangular faces. To find the area of those 3 rectangular faces, we can do it one of 2 ways. We could actually find all 3 areas. So if you think about this, this is a rectangle on the top. It is a 3 by 4 rectangle. There is a rectangle in the front. It is a 4 by 4 rectangle. And there's the slanted one in the back, which is a 5 by 4 rectangle. And I can find the area of all of those. And I'll explain more where those numbers came from in a second. And I could add up all of these numbers. And when I do, 6 plus 6 plus 12 plus 16 plus 20 is going to give me 60. And because it's surface area, it's going to be 60 yards squared. That is one way to do this. Now, mind you, when I look at this, where did the 3 by 4 come from? Well, if you think about the rectangle on the top, this distance is 4, this distance is 3. So that's the rectangle I'm talking about. Since this is a 4, we know down here has to be a 4. So this is a 4 by 4 rectangle, which is where I got that from. And the rectangle in the back, 5 by 4, that's where that came from. Notice these are all the sides of my triangle. When I do that, that's actually going to be an idea I can use, so I can use that method. Or I can try this. Start off the same way. Look at my triangle. My triangle is a 6 by 8 triangle. 6 here and 8 here. So to find the area of that, it's going to be 1/2 6 times 8, which is 24. And don't forget there's 2 of them, because there's always 2 triangles. There's the one in this case on the top, and there's the one on the bottom. Well, another way to find these 3 sides, but instead of finding the individual, I can find them all together. All I have to do is find the perimeter of the triangle. So in this case, we talked earlier about to find the perimeter of something. You add up all the sides. So the perimeter is going to be 6 plus 8 plus 10, which in this case is 24. So the perimeter of my triangle is 24. If I multiply that by the height of the entire shape of my prism, multiply that by 7. So it's going to be perimeter times the height, which in this case is 24, times 7, which is 168. What that actually did was, instead of having to find all 3 rectangular faces like we did over here, this is those numbers, it just added up. We don't need individual numbers, so it's those added together. Add the 2 triangular bases in there, and I end up with 216 feet squared. I'm going to put additional examples on here for you guys, but here's a few you can look at.